Hello, everybody, and welcome into the Two for Talking podcast. I am your host, Corey Tusick. I've got Josh Yohe with The Athletic alongside and comedian Joe Bartnick. You can check him out at the Stress Factory in Bridgeport, Connecticut on September 14th and the Stress Factory on September 28th in New Brunswick, New Jersey. And gentlemen, we have a lot to talk about. We've got the CBA, we've got some rankings lists to go over, and then the Steelers, of course. But first, I want to talk about Pierre LeBrun tweeting out that the season next year is indeed going to start in late September. Josh, I know you have been pulling for this for a long time. The odd thing to me is then it was followed up with that the cup will be awarded by mid-June, and I'm like, isn't that what we were doing like 3 years ago?
I mean, it's still kind of awarded in mid-June, which is, I mean, I think what it means is the season will end a week earlier, probably, and it will start a couple of weeks earlier. And thank you for your patience, gentlemen. I'm using my cell phone today because my laptop won't charge. So luckily, I live close to the Apple store at South Hills Village, so I'll be going over there later today. I think it's a good thing, guys. I love hockey as much as anyone. I don't like watching hockey in late June. I think it's kind of stupid, and I think guys like us are going to watch no matter what. But if the idea is to draw in some casual fans to help the game grow, like I think it makes sense to start the season a little bit earlier and to end it a little bit earlier. I know ABC and TNT like to go back and forth with the NBA finals and the Stanley Cup final. I don't give a shit about the NBA finals, and I don't think most hockey fans do. So I think this makes sense. And for those who don't know the season, now this isn't this coming season. That's set in stone. I think October 7th is opening night. But the following season, I would look for the seasons to start probably 7 to 10 days earlier in late September. And there will be 84 games, guys, starting next season. But only 4 preseason games as opposed to the 7 that the Penguins have this season. So I think fans will probably like that too. But I think starting the season a little earlier, it just makes sense. I hate when the playoffs start like on April 18th, Joe. I just think it's too late.
Well, I think it's way too late when they go into the summer, especially now with ABC or ESPN or whoever is controlling the days. Oh, you can't go up against, the Grammys, so we have to have it on this day. And you can't go up against the Emmys or whatever the award season is. So then you have that 3-day break between a game 4 and a game 5. Just seems like, oh, I forgot there was hockey season because the Penguins haven't been playing that late anymore. I think that really hurts the product, except for a couple of years ago when we did have that game 7. Josh, that was amazing because they got to go in that Monday night, and that was, I think, the highest ranked hockey event maybe since
Florida Edmonton game 7. It was.
Yeah, I think that was like since 1980. I think it was the most watched hockey game. They can start in September as far as I'm concerned, but I know that they don't like to go up against football. Nobody does. NBA's been trying to avoid it. That's kind of their big problem. But if they can spread out the games and not have these guys play 3 games in 4 nights, it'll be a better product.
Well, and also adding in 84 the 2 extra games and having 2 less preseason games, I like it balances the schedule a little bit.
It does, and I know people might say, "Geez, 84 games? Why 84? It's already." I understand that, but it's very simple. If you just do the math, every season there is a division rival that the Penguins only host once, and that they only go on the road and play one time. In fact, this season it's Washington. There's only 1 game in Washington, which is absolutely absurd. And it's also probably, even though this is a minor thing, a competitive disadvantage. Like there might be one team in the division that gets to play the Flyers 4 times, but another team has to only plays Carolina 3 times. That's not really fair when you think about it. So you're going to see the extra 2 games just so you play all of your divisional teams at least 4 times, which I think everyone can agree makes sense. Listen, it's more hockey. That's okay. Just a couple of more games that actually count. And I know there are people, especially former athletes, will always say, well, those preseason games are really important for young guys trying to make the team. And I understand that. But now more than ever, next weekend I'm going to be in Buffalo for the prospect tournament, and there's rookie camp and prospect tournaments. There's a lot of other avenues for players to impress coaching staffs. Preseason games are important. They're not that important. Fans hate them. The building's half empty when there's a preseason game usually. So I think this format probably just makes a little bit of sense for everyone.
Yeah.
Hey, Josh, I'm not against it. The more regular season games, the better. I mean, the problem with the NHL schedule is whatever they try to do is they give everybody 3 weeks off in the middle of it. That's the biggest problem.
Yeah, no,
that's why it lasts forever. If they didn't take 3 weeks off for the Olympics, okay, it would end 3 weeks sooner. If we didn't have a 3-week All-Star vacation where every team gets to take a week off, it would be done in at Memorial Day, which it should be by the way God intended. Which I think the biggest key that probably not Bettman, but the next commissioner needs to do, and I think it'd be huge. Put the hockey in the Summer Olympics.
That would be nice.
That would be nice. And the NHL has done stuff like that before. The famous Canada Cup in 1987 was in September. The World Cup of Hockey, the Canada one in 2016, I think was August or September.
Even the 04 one, the one that Mario played in, the lockout
right.
year, that was in September.
Yeah, 96 when the U.S. pulled off the famous upset against Canada, that was in the summer. So I'd be okay with that. I don't know if we'll ever see it, and I don't know how much power the NHL has there, because I know the Olympic Committee certainly likes hockey being a winter sport. That's kind of the signature event of the Winter Olympics, or one of the signature events. But I don't disagree with that, Joe. The schedule will be screwed up this season because of the Olympics. It always is in the Olympic years. I am curious, though, to see the following season, 26-27, when this new the 84 game schedule goes into effect, when it starts earlier. It might be more pleasant for fans. Like I love hockey too. I don't think people necessarily, and I mean like the real hockey fans, I don't know if they enjoy back-to-back games that much, because the quality of play isn't as good. Like games are better when teams are a little bit rested too. I think we often ignore that, and I could not agree with you more about your Memorial Day comments. Pierre LeBrun and I often talk about this. It's just a huge pet peeve of both of ours that the season goes so late into June. It's not healthy for the league. It just isn't. Like the season is too long regardless. There's that stretch in March when even the biggest hockey lovers ever got, God, it's a little stale. Can the playoffs just get here? The season is too long. But I do think starting everything earlier will have a positive effect on everyone.
That's such a great point too. Back-to-backs, because there's been home game back-to-backs creeping in, which is kind of ludicrous. I mean, they're not the Grateful Dead, when it gets
right.
2 nights in the, I make everyone. I mean, I would, but I'm a single guy, and I love it. But people need a day off in between. I also think then the less times you have to witness Casey DeSmith.
Yeah.
Well, now that the weekly Casey DeSmith comment comes early this week at the 8-minute mark for Joe. Yeah. No, I mean that's it's true though.
Goaltending.
It is. I mean, listen, the quality of play and the second night of back-to-back games, everybody's just trying to win 2-1 and exert as little energy as possible and roll 4 lines. Nobody wants to see the 4th line. You want to see the Stars. You want to see them feeling healthy and fresh. So the season's too long. We all know the game would be so much more compelling if it was like a 70-game season. That's never going to happen for financial reasons, of course. But I just like that they start a little bit earlier. Like this season, for instance, like the Penguins' first day of camp isn't until September 18th. Like it used to be the day after Labor Day. The season used to start on October 1st. Now it's always, later into October. I know you don't want to compete against the NFL. Nobody does, but guess what? You're going to have to at some point. That's reality. And I just think starting earlier makes sense for everybody involved. And another thing, Joe, you mentioned the back-to-back home games. For a team like the Penguins, that's actually, not doing all that great in terms of selling tickets right now, like those back-to-back home games are a menace. I mean, that's just tough. Yeah, you got your season ticket holders who don't really care maybe. But in terms of selling individual seats, hey, we got a home game Thursday and Friday night. Like that's tough. You want to see those spaced out a little bit.
Not to mention how fun it is on a Thursday night down in the Hill District. We've talked about it plenty. There's so much to do down there.
No, well, you know what? Thursdays is pro night. I love a Thursday night. Your real hockey fans are going Thursday, as far as I'm concerned. But I do have a bone to pick, Josh, and we can mark it at the 10-minute mark. One of the times I will disagree. with these Pittsburgh Penguins. I want to see the fourth line. Give me my Boko and Mama.
Well, I forgot about Boko.
That's that more that third line of crap.
That's true. Yeah. You're right. I can't. I don't even have a response to that. I'm a Boko guy as well. I was more looking at the big picture, but for this particular team, yes, you do have a point. But the NHL has always been so horrible at selling its stars, and even stuff like this. I think, and the NBA is no better, by the way. The NBA just their stars just don't play on back-to-back games half the time anymore. Load management, I think, is what they like to call it, and I appreciate that NHL guys generally play every night, but it's when you get 3 games in 4 nights, when you get 7 games in 11 or 12 nights, it doesn't make for good hockey. It really doesn't in any way. Unfortunately, this season with the Olympic break, the schedule is incredibly condensed. And I'm surprised the Penguins don't have more back-to-backs than they do. But what they do have is just a ton of those stretches where it's 6 games in 9 days. That's tough. Theoretically, it's really tough for an older team. So that doesn't help matters.
So what you're saying is we're not going to make the playoffs.
Well, yes.
Oh, I lost my train of thought again. Damn. Oh God. Something about forget it.
Joe lost his train of thought. It happens. Christ.
I know it was right.
He took the red eye. Sorry about that, Joe.
No, you had something about the scheduling. Maybe it'll pop. Maybe it'll pop back. Oh, PK Subban made that point about the difference between the NBA and the NHL, and he loves the fact that NHL guys always play and there's no days off. And I think it was great that PK stood up and said that. And I think only because hockey is the 4th sport in America, and to me, it's the 3rd sport, because I think in reality, no one really cares about baseball. It's just kind of like you still get the Post-Gazette twice a week, but nobody reads it. Except in New York, except for Boston, New York, and about 2 other cities. I don't really think baseball does. Anyway, long story short, I think that it should be a national crime it should be investigated that Sid and Ovi only play each other twice a year. I mean, it really is absolute ludicrous.
Talk about not maximizing your stars, which
usually it's 4 times a year, but it's only 3 this year. And the only time the Penguins play in Washington this season is the Penguins' last road game of the season, which happens to be on Masters Sunday, so no one in the country is going to care anyway, except for the hardcore hockey fans. It is televised on ABC. Could be Ovechkin's last home game, could be his last game, could be Malkin's last game, even though they each have a game scheduled after that one. But yeah, it drives me crazy. There have been so many scenarios. I think it was a couple of years ago, the Rangers and Islanders only played 1 game at the Garden. Like what are we doing? It just and it's tough. I understand it's not easy to schedule the NHL because there are some people who want more of the divisional games, and we all like divisional games. There are also people like me who I think it's important that Connor McDavid and Sidney Crosby play in every city every season. I don't think it's good for the league when Crosby plays in Vancouver like once every 3 years. I don't think that's a good thing either. So it's not an easy thing to schedule, but you have to play your divisional teams at least 2 times in each building. That's ridiculous otherwise.
I agree 1,000%. And I think it has to be that everybody gets to see their team once, this world's scattered, and Sidney Crosby, McDavid, Ovi, the Rangers, the Blackhawks need to go everywhere once a year. I think it's very pertinent. But I think we've talked about this maybe in the last summer. I don't have a problem with actually the NHL scheduling as much as I do with the TV network scheduling, whoever controls that, because I've said it for 15 years. It was always Dr. J and Bird or the Pistons and Dr. J. It was always the same 4 teams all the time on NBC, and the late game was always the Lakers, and that's how you make stars. And I don't know why anybody has to see anybody the last 15 years, except for the Rangers, the Blackhawks, Ovi and Sid and the Bruins, and that's it. They waste everybody's time with every other team.
Oh God, how many times do we have to see the Blues play, Minnesota or something? You're like, come on.
Because they worry so much about regional ratings. Like, it's great that Buffalo gets great local ratings, and they do because it's a great sports town. But nobody around the country wants to watch the Buffalo Sabres. That's just the way it is. So, I mean, the Penguins are on national TV a lot still, and I could argue that they probably shouldn't be right now. Yeah, I know they still have Crosby, but it's not like they're must-see TV. I think they have 16 national games, which is like the second or third most in the league. I will say ESPN especially has McDavid on more than I would expect. Like they've finally come around to at least putting him on a good bit. But yeah, this is not a strength of the league. It's not a strength of the networks that promote the league, and it never ever has been, Joe. I mean, even Gretzky's career, Mario's career, those guys were never on national TV as much as they should have been. And I would say the same for Crosby and Ovechkin, especially when you consider how good their teams were during most of those years.
Yeah, I mean, at least Gino and Sid and Ovi aren't on Sports Channel.
Yeah, that's right. Mario was quite a bit, as I recall.
They won a cup on Sports Channel. It's like,
there's so many young people watching saying, "What the hell is Sport Channel?" Like, wow, it was a real thing.
It was, it made the Outdoor Network relevant. Sports Channel.
Oh my God, the OLN hosted the Game on a Stick game, if I remember correctly. The Flyers, Darian Hatcher knocking his teeth out.
That was the Outdoor Network or whatever they called it. Yes,
like we got the Tour de France and Sidney Crosby beating on the Flyers.
I think that's the only two things they had on their network. I think like the national anthem came on at midnight.
I'm sure.
Yeah, that was the funny thing was that NBC, when they took over, it was a blessing that all of a sudden a sports network was going to, give hockey full shift, and it was a real network. It wasn't going to be in between fishing videos. It's just that the talent, other than Doc and Edzo and Liam, and I'm not a fan of the president of the GM now of the Flyers, but I used to like him on TV a lot. It's just they had their bozos that ruined everything, and we all know the names.
Yeah, I think if you took Mike Milbury, I actually took a picture. One of the more unethical things I've done in my journalism career, when the Penguins won the Stanley Cup in San Jose in 2016, I was standing like 20 feet away from Milbury, and he was standing there. He just looked so pissed off. So I couldn't help but take a picture of him. I may have tweeted it even. I thought, he looks so angry. I got to take a picture of this. This is hilarious. But no, the NBC had Doc and Edzo, and they were great. But they just never put enough into hockey and never had the right people in hockey, and had, there was such of a Canadian feel. Like, you got to have some Americans on too. Like on some of these broadcasts, all it is Canadians. And I don't say that because I'm anti-Canada. I say that because the Canadian understanding and appreciation of hockey, it's just different than in the States. And if you want to bring it to a new audience, I think you need some Americans who speak that language, and the networks just never get that.
Yeah, I mean, there's always a point made about how, they never have stars. They always have tough guys and just goons. And it seems like those are the guys that need the paycheck. But then when you get a star like Messier, like I said, it's like the keeper of the crypt. I like Subban. I think Subban does a great job. But the 1 year, I forget the network, might have even just been a World Cup, was Chelios and Hull. And it was the greatest television ever. I guess they couldn't keep the bars open long enough, or they didn't give enough money. But it was a one time. There was actually color guys that were like Barkley and Shaq that just let it fly.
They just didn't care. That's right.
Yeah, it was incredible analysis. You guys remember that? It was It was great. Like, I thought Chelly did a great job. I don't know, why they got rid of him.
I liked it.
He's not a Ranger, that's why.
I know he's got, there were issues or whatever that caused it, but I liked JR on there, even though he cried whenever a team that he played for beat another team that he played for to win a championship that he never won. I always thought that meme was hilarious. Yeah, they need more people with like some, I don't know, I guess some balls, like some people with a little bit of edge. Like, it makes it just not so perfect all the time. I don't know.
I definitely said this on this show, and I apologize to listeners. I'm repeating myself, but like Subban, the one time he wasn't with Messier, he was incredible doing analysis. It's like, but when he's with Messier, he has to do some like a Saturday Night Live skit.
Yeah,
Just let DK talk about hockey. It's like they all want to be TNT, and nobody's Charles Barkley, and nobody's Shaq.
Yeah.
Stay in your lane and do hockey.
Honestly, I don't watch the NBA, but I'd watch that intermission show with Charles Barkley and Shaq. Like, I see the clips all the time. It's some of the best sports TV out there. Like Shaq going into a Christmas tree, and like, it's just they just.
I love that
care.
show. Like, I'm not a huge NBA guy, but those guys are phenomenal. Like, if I'm bored, 1 a.m. and a West Coast game ends, I'll stay up and watch them because it's good television. The NHL just doesn't have enough of that. They try. I mean, there's been some progress, I think, on TNT, especially when Taka was on. I thought he really added so much credibility to that show, but it's not there yet.
Yeah, that's for sure. I mean, everyone loves Biz, but it's like Bloody Marys. You can have two. You can't have Bloody Marys every drink. And it's like enough Biz. Biz is too much. That's why Taka was the best. And even the Chief, when the Chief was out there, because I mean, if Biz Nash is going to talk over Gretzky, I mean,
right. And Gretzky's gotten better on TV than he was. But he still doesn't show up enough to make that much of a difference. Like, he's still on very sporadically.
I will say this though: when Wayne speaks, he really has something to say. You really learn something every time he talks.
Sure. Oh yeah, it's Wayne Gretzky. I actually think Lundqvist is pretty good. I mean, they have some pieces on that show. It just, I don't know. You never feel totally satisfied with the NHL television product, no matter which network it's on. I think it's probably better on TNT than it's been in the United States, in my recollection. But when you think TNT, you still think NBA first. It's just, it's just the way it is. And then ESPN, it's good for the league to be on ESPN because it's ESPN. It is such of an obnoxious Rangers flavor on their broadcasts. Almost everybody on those broadcasts has some connection to New York or the Rangers, and it's just so overwhelming to me. And I don't think most American hockey fans really want that, and they've never really changed it. It's still Mark Messier or Linda Cohn talking about the Rangers. I'm not nothing against those people. They're fine, but it's just too much.
I mean, the Rangers, this is going to be incredibly insulting and sound really stupid because I don't know the numbers, but just knowing the Rangers, I feel like they could get a star that comes in and like, hey, he just scored his 257th goal and that he's now the career leader, for the Rangers. Like they've had guys filter through there. They've had Gretzky, they've had Messier for a minute, but like Josh, you've said many times, they won 1 Stanley Cup since World War II. Like,
right. And I mean, Messier's an icon there, and he should be because he's the one who delivered it.
Yeah.
So I get that, but no,
they've just never had they want us to care about the Rangers because they're New York. I just don't care.
For all the people make fun of the Maple Leafs for all of their failures, Joe, the Rangers have won cup since World War II, and they have more money than anybody. That's it is pretty interesting.
And spend it more than anybody. I have forgiven the blue shirts for the original sin of Adam Graves. It's kind of like I have a lot of Ranger friends, and then Yager played for them, and the league's better when they're better. When they're relevant, it's a better league, and there's nothing like the Garden, but they are they're as feeble as the Knicks.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
No, I mean there's
when it comes right down to it.
It's amazing. So many people always want to play there. They spend the money, but ESPN is just so in bed with the Rangers. It has always been that way. I remember those telecasts in the 90s. You just felt like all they wanted to talk about was the blue shirts all the time, and of course we'll always wonder what would have happened. The Rangers win the Cup in '94, which was huge for the league. It coincided with a time when Michael Jordan retired and interest in the NBA really dropped. But then the NHL, had a work stoppage, and in the next first 3 months of the next season were wiped out, and they never really recovered from it. Then Jordan came out of retirement, and that was that. Certainly a missed opportunity for the league to capitalize from a television standpoint, I think.
Keith Olbermann's favorite sport is hockey. And in the 90s, when ESPN was directly against, for these kids won't even remember, for young kids, CNN used to do a sports show. And they were in direct competition with ESPN on SportsCenter. And there was no internet. And so you had to watch one of the two. And hockey was the lead story over the NBA half the time.
Oh, yeah.
It's just outside of Michael Jordan, like as soon as Jordan was gone, what a missed opportunity, which, is just par for the course for the NHL.
Well, that coincided with, the New Jersey Devils. And we all love, Marty Brodeur, but Marty Brodeur's never, he's not Michael Jordan. Yager could have been maybe, but not.
No, Yager could have been. It's just the mid to late 90s is such a lost era for the NHL and the Penguins especially. It was just, like we were just drifting. Like, remember when Mario left and it was just like, I remember German Titov being in the lineup, being like, oh God, like, is this where we're going? Like,
he was one of their better players.
I know. He's the one that set up the tying goal against the Devils in Game 6, I believe. Wasn't he the one that like got the puck around and then Yager poked it in on Brodeur Game 6?
He was good. Him and Mutt Lang. We had a lot of good foreigners on that team.
Remember.
They assumed Yager wanted like nothing but Czechs around him because he was Czech, but then he didn't like half of them. So that was a miscalculation on Craig's part. But it was an all-European lineup for a while at the turn of the century, I think.
For younger fans, we read in a coach from Czechoslovakia that didn't speak English, but he didn't get along with Yager.
That's right. Yeah, he made up for it by doing that. The dearly departed Ivan Hlinka. That was a strange time in Penguins history, to be sure.
No, a better coach than Mike Johnson. I wish Mike Johnson didn't speak English. Then I understand why he looked confused the whole time.
I knew when he had the Penguins doing yoga the first week of training camp, like, I don't know about this guy.
Yeah, not going to cut it.
All due respect to yoga.
Yeah.
And all due respect to Ivan Hlinka, he has a cup named after him in Edmonton. When you're next to Wayne Gretzky on a billing, you got to have done something right.
By all accounts, actually a really good coach, but when you don't speak the language, Pierre Kramer may have been a great coach. We'll never know. That's one thing that's very difficult to overcome, as we have seen in Penguins history on a couple of occasions. And of course, as EJ always said, I speak 4 languages: English, French, broken English, and broken French. And if you've ever met EJ, that's absolutely true. But he was actually a pretty good coach.
The thing is, I'm not trying to, Scotty Bowman made a difference, obviously Sully makes differences, but it doesn't, can you just throw the puck out and say, like, especially by the power, it seemed like it'd be kind of easy to coach a little bit, maybe not be the best coach, but it seems like I can coach better than half the NHL coaches.
There are a lot of bad coaches out there, let's be honest. And we've seen it over the years. The NHL
rehired.
Yeah, let's just hope Dan Hughes isn't one of them.
Yeah, we'll find out soon enough. He seems like a lovely man. I don't know what kind of a hockey coach he will be, but after covering Mike Johnston for a year and a half, I will say this: it's one thing to know your X's and O's, but it's more important in terms of what kind of a personality you have. The expression "leader of men" can be overused, but that is what you have to be in that role. Mike Johnston might be a leader of 18-year-olds in junior hockey where he's had a lot of success, but the men on the team didn't think that much of him.
No.
It's all I wanted. It's all I asked for this summer. That's why I was high on Mr. Tocchet, because I just want a guy with charisma, a leader of men. From what I've seen, it looks like he's at least a leader of men 18 to 22. Mike Johnson only couldn't get to guys that could legally vote.
Yeah.
So I like 18 to 22. That's a good demographic, but we got to get up to like 35 to 45 on this roster.
That's right.
When the average age is 39, I think, or whatever it is, it feels like it.
I firmly believe that he just has to get Sir Sidney to buy in, because I think if Sid, because Gino's always going to be Gino, but if Sid buys in, Gino will buy in enough.
That's right, and it's Gino's last year anyway, in all likelihood. So
yeah,
and Sid buying in is a bigger deal. You know, Sid did buy in at first with Mike Johnson. He gave him a chance. Sid will give this guy a chance too.
I was
he's
gonna say. I remember Sid seemed pretty on board, and then probably like the fourth or fifth time that he had looked back at his coach, going, he was like, "Okay, that's it,
right.
that's it."
And we can say, looking back now, that was 10 years ago. Thank God, that was the only time I ever saw Sid not. I'm not going to say not give 100%, because I don't even think I can say that. It's blasphemy. But he didn't look like he was. I'm not playing hard. He just didn't know what he was doing. What he was doing. I mean,
he was in a fog. His body language was terrible during some of those games. Like, I would watch him on the bench, and it's not you knew him well enough to know he always plays hard.
Right.
He has so much pride, but something was wrong. That's the thing we always say about Sid. Like, when he knows something isn't right, like, he can't fake it. You can tell by the look on his face. Like, something's just a little off here.
Yep. Yeah. No, I remember that. I remember people saying, like, on the internet, oh, I think Sid just needs to like get married and have kids. Like he looks, bored with hockey or something. And then Mike Sullivan comes in and changes all that, and everything's better. Well, we're going to talk about the rankings in the Athletic of the top 60, where the rebuilds rank, and we'll see where the Penguins land there. But before we do that, Mr. Bill Neofis, our great sponsor, we appreciate him as always. And Josh, did he think anything of the Steelers yesterday? Did he have any thoughts?
I don't think Bill, by his nature, is necessarily the biggest Aaron Rodgers fan, but he did text me after the game and say something along the lines of, like, oh, maybe we underestimated this guy a little bit. Like, yeah, maybe. He was very pleased with the victory. We also greatly enjoyed the Ravens' all-time choke job Sunday night, which I'm sure we will mention when we talk NFL. But yes, Bill Neofis, our great sponsor, our great friend. We say it about him every week, and we say it because it's true. He's the best insurance man in Pittsburgh. It's Neofis Insurance. It's Neofes insurance.com. I'm not going to give you the phone number today because I'm doing the show on my phone, and thus I cannot look up his phone number like I normally would. But Neofis,
I bet Corey can look it up for the great.
I bet he can while I'm rambling on here.
412-364-3388.
There it is. See? I like when Corey comes in handy like that. That was like Johnny on the spot there, Corey. That's great.
I know. Especially we have to for the great Bill Neofis.
Yeah, Bill's the best. Whatever your insurance needs are, we tell you every week. Car insurance, life insurance, apartment insurance, house insurance, fire insurance. You go down the list. There's some pet insurance. There's so many of them. Bill will take care of you. His staff, they're absolutely the best. So give Bill a call. Go to the website. Tell him we sent you.
Yes. Thank you, Bill,
Bill.
Always.
I feel like I'm against Bill, though, because I am a huge Aaron Rodgers fan. And just because I know him personally, and he came in here and he was cool with everybody, and now he's throwing 4 touchdowns. Yeah. I mean, where were we? Aaron, isn't it change the offense? Oh, we got to run the ball. No. We got Aaron freaking Rodgers now. We got chopped up like chipped ham at Isley's on defense. And what does Rodgers do? Bam, 4 touchdowns in the Wizard of Oz. We won. What? It was a miracle we won that game.
I know.
Unbelievable.
2 guys.
Now we're going to get to the unbelievable performance, and clearly the best Steelers quarterback performance since Ben. You can pick whatever Ben game you want, but we haven't seen a quarterback performance like that in years.
Well, we just are getting out of the doldrums there, the purgatory that you will, if you will, of not having a quarterback. And speaking of purgatory, the Penguins are kind of in that purgatory right now. And Corey Pronman, no relation, he put out an article ranking where teams are in the rebuild and how close they are to winning a Stanley Cup, in his opinion. He just took the 16 teams that missed the playoffs last year. So I'll start off the list. Number 16, he has the Boston Bruins as the furthest away from winning the Stanley Cup. And he kind of gets into it, but you see, like, they don't have a lot in the pipeline. They're kind of, they've got Swayman, this and that, but other than that, they don't have a lot coming.
No, and I feel like for years, for years, Corey and Joe, that they have outplayed the level of talent that they have on that team. They had that year a couple of years ago, and they had the historical regular season before they lost to Florida in the first round. On paper, they weren't that good. They were good. They were a playoff team. They were not some great team. And we see it all the time. It just catches up to you eventually when Bergeron's gone, Marchand's gone, Chara's gone, and they just didn't have the right people to replace them. So I think there could be a few rough years ahead in Beantown.
Well, I think that is a key point of who you mentioned, Chara, Rat, Bergeron. They were always better than some of their parts because of the culture.
Yeah.
And now there's no more culture. And now they're just those, spare parts. I mean, I love Pasta. I think Pasta might be the best forward in the NHL. I like Charlie Mack. Hopefully he bounces back. And I hope Swayman is our goaltender in the Olympics. But other than that, no bueno. But, 5 years ago, you'd be like, well, Boston's going to find a way. They're going to win a 2-1 game, and they're going to find
a way. They always did.
Yeah. They always did because of the culture. The culture's gone. It's kind of like the Steeler defense. Now there's a culture. Well, those guys all left.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Culture affects teams more than people really think. People don't like we'll talk about the Steelers, but Polamalu and those guys had an attitude about them, and there was no attitude other than a certain one. Number 15 on the list is the New York Rangers. Wow. And he points out they're not a bad NHL team, but I mean, they don't have any depth to their system.
Well, I'm no expert on the Rangers system, quite honestly, so I will trust Corey's word on that ahead of mine. I will say this about the Rangers, and I think they could be a playoff team this year with Sullivan there. I think they'll be potentially better. One thing about the Rangers, though, Joe, go look at their roster. They're old. Like, they're really old. All their best players are in their 30s. I think that's a real problem for them, just looking in the window of the next 5 years. You got the goalie, sure, but the rest of that team is really aging. I think that's a concern.
I agree with you exactly, Josh, about an aging roster. I also can not speak to the Rangers prospects. It's kind of like a pool I don't swim in, prospect eliteness and not. But if you ask me who's closer to win a Stanley Cup than the 16 teams that did not make the playoffs, I would think the Rangers would be in the top 5. They got a goaltender. Right. They got Sullivan. They're going to have a bunch of money to take off the books, and everybody wants to play in New York. So I don't know where he figured out the system of who's going to win the Stanley Cup or not. I don't care if they have no one in it. They don't even have an AHL team. They're closer than the Boston Bruins.
Yeah,
I would think so too.
The Penguins, for that matter.
Yeah. Well, speaking of the Penguins, they're number 14 on the list. The Penguins, like he says here, the Penguin system is in significantly better shape than it was over the last decade. And while that is promising, there is ways to go. And I agree with that.
No, he's not wrong. I mean, the Penguins aren't close to winning a Stanley Cup. Let's be honest here. Yes, they still have top-tier talent that a lot of other teams don't have. But their prospects, the young guys they have, most of them aren't ready to contribute at this point in time. We know that. We know they're a team in transition. So I don't know what he has to say about the other teams on the list, but I wouldn't be offended by that if I were a Penguins fan.
No, I think that makes sense, because even if you look at like the San Jose Sharks and the Anaheim Ducks, they all have high-end talent that the Penguins don't have. Some of the other things we can dump on the Flyers if you want, but they got Tocchet and they got a couple young guys that might be able to play. I would only think of maybe like a Vancouver or someone that's just in dramatically a worse shape than the Penguins, just mentally.
Yeah. And I should clarify. I mean, he does say that this is, not that they're going to win the Stanley Cup soon, but in the next 10 years, most likely to win. So, that kind of explains like Boston, or why, New York is there and everything like that. I don't know. We've talked a bunch about the Penguins and their system. and it really needs to be revamped. And that's why, I mean, I know it goes against what a lot of people want, but I'm like, you got to go for the tank job. They don't want to say it, but a 1 in 4 shot of Gavin McKenna to put a star in this system. And like I said last week, even one of those guys in the top 5, you can have an Eric Stahl that's your star that leads you to a Stanley Cup. That happens. They're not all Sidney Crosby, but my God, there was another list of his that I was looking through of prospects, and like the top 60 under 23 prospects, he didn't have any Penguins listed.
I know one thing: Eric Stahl's not going to sell any season tickets.
Yeah,
that's true.
This is true.
Not in Pittsburgh anyway.
Yeah,
where the standard's a little bit higher. That is true. But yes. I think when you look at the Penguin system, like they finally have some really good-looking young players coming, and that's great. But I don't know that there's a star in that system, and that's a concern. Where is the star power going to come from?
Yeah,
a couple of years from now when Sid is gone, you have to have that top tier elite talent. Look at all the teams that win Stanley Cups. Doesn't mean you have to have a Crosby or a McDavid or an Ovechkin, but you have to have, a Barkov and a Reinhart, guys like that. And I don't see any of that in the Penguin system right now. That certainly is a concern.
Yeah. Number 13 on the list is the Vancouver Canucks.
Yeah, I just mentioned them. Yeah, they're a disaster. I feel bad for JR, but you traded the wrong guy, Jimmy, and you let Rick Taka walk out the door.
Well, and Pettersson and Hughes just seem like such of a problem to me. It's we've already heard that Hughes wants to play with his brother, and that seems to be the priority. Pettersson, I mean, I don't know what happened to Pettersson. All I know is the second he got paid, he was never the same player. That's the contract that's just absolutely killing that team right now. I don't give a shit what their prospect situation is. If your number one center is going to disappear like this guy does, I don't know how you recover from that, and he's probably not tradable right now.
Him and Connor Hollaback should do a magic routine. They both
yeah. Oh my. Number 12 on the list is the Nashville Predators. I guess under general manager Barry Trotz, where he's just going to keep shipping stuff to us, at a discount. Barry Trotz is a great coach. I don't think he's really figured it out as a GM, and I don't know. What do you think of the Nashville Predators?
Well, they had some lofty expectations when they signed Steven Stamkos and Jonathan Marchessault last offseason, and they frankly were a disaster. It's suddenly now kind of an older team. Yossi's getting a little older now too. I don't see much hope for them. I don't know a lot about their system, but you said it, Corey. I think Barry Trotz is a way better coach than he is a general manager. We've seen that pretty quickly.
Yeah, he didn't figure out. He forgot what made that team or his teams great, and that was playing as a team and running a system. He went out and got some big name guys that just weren't in his system. He ended up having to play them all on the same line.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Yossi is getting older, and I think he traded one of his best defensemen. He traded what's his name to Columbus, who all of a sudden is now in the top pair with Werenski. I mean, he's not a good GM.
No, they've made one mistake after another, and it's a shame. That is a way better hockey market than people realize. I don't think I've ever covered a game there that wasn't a sellout. Like that's a really good market. And those people are just, so hungry for a winner, but I don't see it coming anytime soon for the Preds.
Yeah. Number 11 on our list of rebuilding teams most likely to win the Stanley Cup in the next 10 years. Not our list, Corey Pronman's list. The Buffalo Sabres. Boy, does that sound like bad news for Buffalo. Like in the mushy middle, even on this list.
I mean, it's just a horribly managed hockey team. It has been for a long time. They're not without talent. They certainly have some, Joe. But when I think of like NHL franchises that are a disaster right now, they pop into my mind, I think, before anyone else. It's just a bad situation.
Yeah, Josh, I think I made a mistake when I said when I thought Vancouver maybe had the worst front office. No, it's Buffalo. I think Buffalo should be last because even if they drafted, your favorite boy Corey, they'd screw him up anyway.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, they'd find a way.
They have a terrible track record with everything, and they're cursed.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and Buffalo has great sports fans, so I'm not attacking the city of Buffalo. But I'll never forget, as you know, as I'm not sure, and sitting in the Civic Arena, Mellon Arena, whatever it was called at the time, Sid's rookie year, and Buffalo was really good that year. I think weren't they number 1 seed in the East that year? So they were really good, and they came to town, and a bunch of their fans were there. And I remember seeing this guy walk around the concourse, the upper concourse on the CD level, and him just, it was this young kid, probably had a few pops and was just mouthing off. And he said, not only does your team suck, but your building sucks too. And I was like, I just remembered that guy. And then when Sid beat them in the Winter Classic, I was like, screw that guy. Yeah, like take that. And then ever since then, it's been like downhill. Like it's 2 different directions that the franchises have gone. And I still think about that guy every time I see the Sabres suck. I'm like, I wonder what his life's been like the last 20 years.
Maybe that was the guy that Lamar Jackson shoved in the front row at the Bills game last night.
It might have been. Did you see that?
Corey, just bless your just when you pray, whatever God you have or whatever you believe you have, crystals or whatever, you're a karmic guy. Because I remember when I was a freshman in college, a guy we used to party with on his hotel. I'm doing comedy in his house. He had painted. His roommate was a Sabre fan and he was a Penguin fan. And the living room was 2 big logos, the Sabres and the Penguins. And at that time, the Sabres were the much better franchise.
And that was what, the 80s?
1988.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. No, I mean,
like Darren Pupo was their goaltender.
The mute kicked in and everything changed forever. But,
yeah. Yeah. No, that's why you got to keep your mouth shut sometimes as a sports fan. I learned that, but I'll never forget that guy in Buffalo. Poor Buffalo. Number 10 on the list of teams most likely to get the Stanley Cup in the next 10 years would be the Calgary Flames. Yeah, they got a new building coming.
Nobody wants to play there.
Yeah.
That's their biggest, and I don't know why. I think Calgary's a great town. That's just me. I guess I'm not an NHL player. NHL players clearly don't like playing there. A lot of them don't like playing in Canada in general because of the tax situation, which isn't as bad in Alberta as it is most of Canada, but it's still bad. But if you can't get good players to stay in a city, and places like Calgary, Winnipeg, Edmonton, historically really have a problem with that. Man, you've got 2 strikes against you already, Joe.
Yeah, I actually always enjoyed my times in Calgary. And to me, they have a chance with new building, maybe new money, attracting something. We're not listing teams that made the playoffs. I would think that Winnipeg the Calgary will win a cup before Winnipeg ever wins a cup.
I could see that.
Because to me, Calgary can turn things around, draft some guys, new building, people want to play there. As long as Winnipeg is stuck with that American fraud goaltender and that wants to get a number 1 seed and then just chokes, they're never going to win.
Yeah, wow. I feel like Calgary, for better or worse, like they're just the most average team in the league.
Yeah,
they don't suck. They're not great. They're not really fun to watch, but they're okay. But they're so far away from being a contender. And again, these teams, they're a classic case of a team that never has a top 5 pick. They're never that bad. So that they never really get that infusion of talent that you need. I mean, they had Kachuk and Gaudreau were there once upon a time. So they had some star power then. They didn't want to be there. And, that's the way it went. So I think it's probably going to be a while. They do have a new building coming there, which perhaps will help. But yeah, they're just stuck right in the middle.
Josh, don't forget they also had Mr. Bennett. They had Kachuk and Bennett on the same team.
Think about that.
Jeez,
true.
Nobody's fault but mine is what their GM. Oh, but you're living. Oh, he's a great GM. So much better than Dubas. We can't get it. We can't wait to get a hold of him.
Exactly.
Number 9 on the list is the New York Islanders. I mean, they did get number 1 pick. So, but it was albeit a weak draft. So that's not really the time you want to hit the lottery. It's like hitting the lottery the year after, Sidney Crosby. You're like, yeah, that's great.
They got the Kaiser. The big mean defenseman that I wanted.
That's right.
Yeah, I think they're ahead of the game. I think the Metro is weak, and they can attract some people.
They're okay, but they've, with all due respect to Lou Lamoriello, who certainly knows what he's doing, they haven't really been all that well run of an organization for a long time now, and I don't know that a lot of players want to play on the island. Playing for the Rangers is different. You're in Manhattan every night. There's just, you're playing at Madison Square Garden every night. That's a different kind of buzz. I just don't know that the Islanders bring that to the table. In fact, I don't think they do. They have some young talent, and obviously their luck in the draft should be helpful, but they're not really anywhere close to winning, I don't think.
No. Number 8 is the Detroit Red Wings. Starting to get their way there, but again, we've talked about the stripping it all down and why you don't do it, and they're the proof as to why you don't. Maybe I'm not saying that's the right move, but
I think this is way. I think we may be missing the point of this huge article, and it's things that we're nine teams in. I think he's really basing things on the prospect pools, because I think they're like 3 or 4 of the teams that didn't make the playoffs who's the closest to winning a Stanley Cup. To me, it's them and the Rangers.
But if
they got Gibby now, right? So now, whatever they get a couple more guys up front. They have a stud young defenseman insider. They have all the makings of some good young guys up front. It's like they're like 1 or 2 guys away from maybe going on a run. Calgary is 10 guys away from going on a run.
Yeah, I would agree with that. We keep waiting on Detroit every year to kind of take a jump. You mentioned earlier, Joe, about culture. I think Detroit lost their culture at some point in all of these years. They had a lot of great players too. That'll help your culture when you got Hall of Famers all over the place. But there was a 20-year span there where they were just the class of the league. And I think when you have guys like Nick Lidstrom running the show, that develops a culture. And they just lost everybody all at once, it felt like, and they never really had that that same identity again. And it's been a decade now where we're just kind of waiting on the Red Wings to get it together. You talk about great hockey markets in a city that's just waiting to explode behind a team. That certainly is Detroit. They have some talent along in their system, from what I've heard. It's not a bad system, but man, the pressure's got to be on Stevie Y at this point. He's not done a great job there.
No, and Pavel Datsyuk did no favors by leaving them high and dry.
No, he didn't. No, that's true.
No. Number 7 on the list, and now they say that this is likely to still be in the early stages of the rebuild, but as likely to win in the next 10 years. I don't see it happening. The Philadelphia Flyers, mainly because of Michkov and Porter Martone, which I guess for the sakes of this argument in the list, number 7, I can't really deny that, because Michkov is a player that, like, it's one of those players where you're like, God, why? And same with Martone, where you're like, why did that guy go to the Flyers? Like, go somewhere else. Go somewhere out west where I can enjoy you and not be like mad. I don't know.
Those are a couple of pieces for them to build on, and we, of course, are big Rick Tocchet fans on this show. We know how good of a coach he is, but they're years and years away. It's a franchise that doesn't really have an identity anymore. Like, I don't know. When I think of the Flyers, you think of violence and beating people up. That's not them anymore. You can't really play that way anymore. But most people in the organization still identify with that and want to be that. So they're just having an identity crisis of sorts, I think. and they don't have much NHL talent right now. They have some in their system. I just kind of see them being stuck in the middle for a long time personally, and I think Penguins fans would be okay with that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, I wanted Martone, but then I found out he was a Flyer fan growing up, so the hell with him. I like the one guy that I say every year they got from Anaheim. I'm spacing on him now, a little jet lagged. So he can back up everything stupid Hathaway does. But their biggest get is they have Rick Tocchet. So that's it.
Yeah, it still hurts. It still hurts every time I hear about it.
Yes, it does.
Number 6 is the Seattle Kraken. They've got a decent group of young forwards. So I mean, I don't know. Maybe that's where he sees them being as someone that could get there. To me, I don't see it. Like they look like a team that's going to be like the Minnesota Wild, how they were always in the playoffs, but you never felt they were going to win the Stanley Cup. Does that make sense?
Call. Yeah, that's a good call. I don't know, Joe, how good of a job Ronnie Francis has really done since the Seattle franchise started. I haven't been blown away. And I will say, they have not been given the advantages that Vegas was. They certainly cracked out on a lot of the trades that they were able to make. They didn't have a Hall of Fame goaltender in his prime just waiting for them. So it's been tougher for Seattle than Vegas, but even though they don't have too many bad contracts and they have some talent on the way, it feels like it's really a long-term thing for them to be a contender.
I agree with every single thing you've said, and I think that those things have hamstrung the great Ronnie Francis, the lack of a goaltender, the lack of being able to just screw over 5 GMs that Vegas did. But Ronnie, I love you. You chose 2 horrible coaches.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, it's been a real problem.
Hackstall, I knew going in because I remember you talking about all these Seattle guys were the Seattle comics in LA were so happy to get a hockey team, and they're like, what do you think? Can we be Vegas for a year? There was so much excitement. I go, well, you could be, but I don't like your coach. And I know that he was a Flyer guy, so I'm not going to like him, but he's not a good coach. He's not a leader of men. He had the Mike Johnson face, like, what? And that's not how. And that's not how. I mean, and think about in Vegas had in Vegas had some my brain. Vegas had Gerard Gallant, leader of men.
Yeah, and Dan Bilesma.
And then Dan Bilesma, I'm not going to knock Dan, but we know he's not Scotty Bowman.
No, he was the right man at the right time in 2009, and I give him a lot of credit for that. But it's not 2009 anymore, and you just never.
Sid and Gino and Fleury ain't walking through that door.
No, and you just never felt like he was the right guy for that job.
Yeah.
You never did.
Yep. Number 5 is the Columbus Blue Jackets.
They're intriguing. I mean, I think there's some real young talent there, Joe. And they made a jump last season. Everyone thought they'd be the worst team in the league. Last year, they most certainly were not. They've got some legitimate young star power on that team. They can score goals. I don't know if they can stop them. And that's the classic case of an organization that has no identity, that has no culture. It's just Columbus, right? But they got some pieces. I think they're kind of interesting.
I love their pieces. I love that big Russian kid that scores 40 goals, can throw them. His running partner got demoted. Now he wants to trade. I don't know if that's any good. They got Werenski. I think the biggest thing with Columbus is they will be the ultimate team stuck in the mushy middle. Corey, they will be your Minnesota Wild because they're going to make their playoffs for 10 years, but no one's going to want to play there, so they'll never get a big star to come and put them over the top.
Yeah. I mean, that's what you have to have. You have to get the luck, because it's kind of what the Penguins were. I mean, they didn't until Mario. It's like we're just kind of like there. If you know your Penguins history. Because they would have some successful runs. They'd make some serious runs. They were up 3-0 on the Islanders. Like they weren't just a doormat for years,
Well, Detroit had all the pieces. Detroit had all the pieces in the mid-90s. Then what happened? Shanahan wanted to go there and be a winner. He was not a loser because he's Brendan Shanahan, but he was a guy that wanted to win his whole life. never in the right spot. He was like, I'll go to Detroit. Boom. Turned everything around. Look at Florida. Oh, they were President's Trophy, scored 9 points a game. 9 goals a game. What happened? They couldn't check anybody doing anything. What happens?
Mm-hmm.
Hornet goes down there to change the culture. Kachuk shows up.
Yep.
Wants to win. It just takes one big guy.
Start putting people through the wall, and then
one super. Doesn't have to be McDavid. Doesn't have to be Ovi, but one guy that's like, hey, we're doing it this way, and I'm good enough to do it this way.
And when I think of them, I can't help but think of Johnny Gaudreau, and obviously his death was far more tragic than we can't even put it in hockey terms. But one cool thing about Gaudreau, he wanted to play there. He was a big name who wanted to be in Columbus. And that's why I think Columbus is an okay town, actually. I don't know why guys don't want to play there, but it's obvious that a lot don't. And he was like a big name who did, and I thought that was a really big deal for them.
Yeah.
And there's some cities, some teams that are just going to have that problem moving forward. People not wanting to play there, and that's one that will hurt them. But they do have a pretty good pool of prospects. And when you draft as high as they have for so long, you should. And they do. I'm really interested to see if they can take another jump this season, or if that was a little bit of a mirage. And honestly, I don't know. I don't have an opinion on it, but I'm interested in them.
I don't want to. I just not a disrespect to Johnny at all. And I think I spent on my other podcast. I think we spent like a half hour talking about how great Johnny Hockey was about 2 weeks ago. He's Johnny Hockey, but would they have been better? This is a question, Josh. Like, is it better that I don't want to obviously doing the trade, but like say he tore his knee in September or whatever? Were they better without him because they came together as a team than they would have been if he just played and they didn't have a cause? Does that make sense?
I mean, that's a real thing. It is.
They's all scared. Oh, we're the Blue Jackets and whatever.
Yeah. Or we'll find out this year. I mean, we'll find out probably how big of a role that played. I'm sure that played a role. Of course they were playing. I can't even imagine what those guys went through, and they certainly came together. I don't doubt that for a second. But I do think there's some legitimate young talent there. I think they're interesting. It's just an organization who's never been able to figure out how to, put it all together. They just never ever have.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, they arguably, other than special needs Ron Hextall, Kekalainen. I mean, as I was saying, if you take out the Special Olympics aspect of Ron Hextall, Kekalainen, the worst GM ever.
Not good. Not good at all. No.
Certainly not. Number 4 on the list is the Chicago Blackhawks, which picking up high a lot. Do that. I mean, I don't see it with Connor Bedard. I don't know where he'll land all time. What his trajectory. I don't know. I didn't buy the hype at the time. I had a nephew who's a big hockey player, and he tried to buy into the hype for a minute, and even he, like, this last year was like, yeah, I mean, I'd rather have Celebrini. Like, I don't know. I number 4 to me was a little high, but what do you guys think?
Well, I mean, part of that is maybe betting on Bedard being better than he was last season, which he may be. Like, it's not like he's been bad. He's been 18 and 19 years old in these 2 seasons, remember. Like, Nate McKinnon didn't light the world on fire his first year either. So I wouldn't give up on Bedard. They have some other young pieces. And I know this isn't the point of the article, but that's a city where a lot of people want to play. Like if Chicago can get better, like a lot of guys are going to want to play there, might even be willing to take less money to go be in Chicago. That's always an advantage the Hawks are going to have. It's a great city. But I think you're betting on Bedard becoming a real star, and he may. He's really good. He took a step back last season, I think. But there are some pieces there, even if they stink right now.
I think Chicago being Chicago, probably the greatest city in America, because I think New York is more like a worldwide city. I think Chicago is the best American city. I love Chicago. People want to play there. I love going there. But Connor Bedard, I don't see him as a franchise-changing talent. I just don't. And yeah, you can say Nathan McKinnon started slow. Nathan McKinnon is a man.
This is the first thing I noticed when I saw Bedard play the first time. Like, Jesus, is he small?
Yeah.
Like, he's not a big guy. I think he's going to be an all-star caliber player. I don't know that he's going to be a franchise player. Those are two different things.
Speaking of mismanaged franchise too, those guys can't get out of their own way.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Yep.
And another team that just stripped down to everything, and it's been years now. That's a problem.
Number 3 on the list, the Anaheim Ducks. The Duckies starting to, I will say this, the names that he lists, like Leo Carlson, Roger McQueen, Mason McTavish, Cutter Gauthier, Beckett, or whatever, however you say his last name. I like
good goaltending. I'm high on the Duckies. I think the Duckies, only one of 32 teams was going to win the Stanley Cup. And in the next 10 years, is McKinnon and McCarr still going to be on the same team? Is McDavid and Leon going to be? Is Florida still going to have 9 All-Stars? I don't know, but the Ducks are going to be a very good team. The Duckies are a legitimate franchise of talent.
I keep waiting for them to take a jump and be a playoff team, because the young talent they have at forward is really impressive. You just said all the names. Like, those kids can all play. You're just kind of waiting on them to put it together, and it may be just one final piece. I don't know what it may be, but I expect them to take a jump one of these years, so I can see why they'd be ranked where they are.
And I used to be a big Trevor Zegers fan. Now, of course, I hope he has a separated shoulder.
Yeah. Number 2 is the Utah Mammoth. And hey, you got Logan Cooley in the mix there, but they lucked into the number 4 pick last year, and that certainly doesn't hurt their chances at building towards something. So I don't know. I think we were all pretty high on them last year, and I really don't think they're too far away.
I think they're a playoff team, and I know, Joe, you've been high on them. I think we both really like these teams.
We picked them to make the playoffs last year. And
we both did.
Yeah. So, like I said, to me, it's maybe not quite as high end everybody as the Duckies, but still good young talent. And it's tough when, there's a couple top 10 guys on one team. That's when it gets tough.
There's been talent in that organization for a while, young guys, and it's starting to come to fruition now, I believe. I think that's actually a city where a lot of guys might like playing. It's just an outdoorsy kind of place. I could see them having success. It would not shock me. And I really like them to be a playoff team. That blue line is legit.
Yeah. Yeah. And then number 1 is the San Jose Sharks. And dare I say, because don't get me wrong, Celebrini and Misa are good players, look really good so far. I don't think they're like a Crosby, McDavid, level talent. I'm not comparing position wise. You'll understand why I say that in here in a second, but if you look at the Penguins, I feel like they're in the early 2000s. I feel like the Sharks are lucking into a Gavin McKenna away from becoming a team that can win multiple cups, because you had Fleury and it was like, oh, there's a piece, and then in 2004 we got Malkin. There's another piece with Fleury and Malkin together. Say if the Penguins struggled into the playoffs in 2005 in that lockout season and don't get Sidney Crosby, do they ever win a Stanley Cup? I don't know. There was a period of time, we all know this, Gino was one of the best players in the world for a while, so it's, in theory, it's possible. But if they luck into getting Gavin McKenna with the core that they have, in my opinion, the San Jose Sharks could be looking at a team that, hey, in the next 15 years, they might win a couple cups.
Yeah. Yeah, and Joe, I think Celebrini's better than Bedard. And I think he'll be a better player moving forward than Bedard. So you start with that. They have lots. Will Smith, is that his name? The young kid they have there.
Will Smith, the Fresh Prince of.
Yeah. I like him a lot. He's a good player.
Me too.
They have real talent there. They do. I'm not surprised that they were Corey's number 1 pick. Celebrini alone, he just plays like the kind of guy who's going to win a cup someday. He is such of a good two-way player already at his age. He's just got that look about him. They've got some other pieces around him. I think they'll probably stink again this year, but 5 years from now, could they be really, really good? Yeah, I could see it.
I disagree with you, Corey. I think Celebrini absolutely looks like he's a Sid and McDavid. Now, is Sid and am I saying he's going to be knocking Gordie Howe and off Mount Rushmore? No, but moving Messier and Yager around in the top 10 wouldn't shock me. I mean, he jumps off the screen playing for the San Jose Sharks in front of 400 people at 11 o'clock at night on TV. Yeah. I mean, he's that good. He's competitive. He's a bigger guy. He throws hits. He gets his nose dirty. His teammates love him. He's got the Malkin, the Mario, the Fedorov. He got the Witch gene because he's got the size to pull off the stuff he's doing. I think he's the whole bag of chips. I really do. I love that guy. I mean, I think he's going to make Team Canada.
Well, speaking of Team Canada, the fact that he went to Sweden and played in the World Championships in May and Bedard did not.
And Sid loved him, right?
Oh, they were like inseparable. They were inseparable the whole time. Sid thinks the world of him. You could tell, and he was just soaking it all up. He's impressive. That's who you want to build a hockey team around.
Yeah, game recognizes game.
Yeah, 5 years from now, I bet the Sharks are really, really good.
Oh yeah. No, it'll be fun to watch. And then before we wrap up here, we got to talk about the Steelers. Talk about burying the lead. But the Steelers yesterday win 34-32 over the New York Jets. And that's exactly how we all thought it was going to go, right? Remember, everybody said Aaron Rodgers is so old that we're going to have to struggle. And, hopefully Aaron can put up 20 points, because the defense will obviously keep him down to like 18 at most. And then Cam Hayward, boy, has he sullied his reputation here with this whole thing. And I know that people say that the Steelers bent the knee, but they didn't bend it that much. They gave him playoff incentives. So it's like, here, Cam, congratulations. If you win a playoff game for the first time in a decade, you'll get a bonus, No,
I said from day one, he's going to be a breath of fresh air. Did I think he was going to throw 4 touchdowns and save the day week 1? No, but I thought he had a real chance to. And yeah, he's a Hall of Fame quarterback who can still throw it around. And he's calling the plays. He's not letting our idiot coaching staff do anything. He's making the adjustments. He sees an open guy, he can hit him. He's putting the ball in spots where only Ben could in the last 25 years of Steeler football. He's leading guys on that can catch it and run. He's hitting the 3rd and 4th reads. All he has to do is stand up and knock on wood. He actually took a couple of hits and got back up. I mean, he was incredible. And Boz was incredible. Yeah. And the defense absolutely sucked.
That's right.
Absolutely, Josh. It was an embarrassment.
The defense was so soft and got pushed around to such an. I mean, I was stunned by how much the defense was pushed around. It looked like the Baltimore playoff game all over again. Except that was Justin Fields we were watching, not Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry, for God's sake. And maybe the defense can just keep its mouth shut for a week now. We've been hearing all at training camp how great they are and how historical they're going to be. And even Mike Tomlin said they can be historical. They look ridiculous today after the way they played yesterday. Let's be honest here. But the good news, I thought Rodgers was magnificent. The way he sees the field, the way he was in command of the offense, the throws he can clearly still make with ease. Like, that was an awesome performance. That was, because the offensive line wasn't great. He took a bit of a beating in that game. They didn't run the ball all that well. The defense was terrible. He pretty much won that game on his own with Chris Boswell.
Yep.
And he did it. I mean, that was the best Steelers quarterbacking performance we've seen since Ben, probably like 2017 or 2018 version of Ben before he blew his arm. I thought Rodgers was great. So if you want to be a glass half full guy, say, boy, all that talent on defense, they're going to figure it out a little bit. And if they can get that out of Rodgers for the next 4 months, maybe they're onto something. But if they don't fix the defense, it's not going to matter because that was embarrassing.
And I'm not anti Justin Fields on any level because I thought he conducted himself with class and won a bunch of football games for the Steelers. But let's face it, that's Justin Fields. What's going to happen when they play actually a good quarterback?
Oh my God! If they played either of the Bills or the Ravens last night, could you imagine? They would have hung 65 points on that defense.
I mean, that defense is terrible. And in full disclosure, my dad up in heaven looking down his first minute of the game. I didn't call my dad afterwards ever. He was with us. He got us a 60-yarder, and
he pushed it over the bar.
Yeah, he got Rodgers for touchdowns. But that being said, though, I against my will, but I was traveling with somebody. I went to Harold's out in Heinz Field West, an incredible experience. The Bloody Marys come with sliders on top. Every Steelers fan has to make a pilgrimage. But I missed, all the pregame and like the kickoff, so I did not hear the whole Cam Hayward drama. And I was with a lady who's a nice person, but not exactly knows the ins and outs of Steeler contract negotiations. So I was thinking the whole time, I'm like, did Cam sit out? Did Cam not play? Because that's how much they ran the ball right up our freaking ass. And they didn't call. I think he fell on a guy in the fourth quarter once. That was it. And I can't wait to go back on DVE because they kind of questioned me. Remember on third down and Jets had the ball in field goal range. TJ Watt came out and got Gatorade.
Yep. Oh yeah. You guys were the first two people I thought of when I saw him coming off. I was like, oh boy.
It was 65 degrees, Joe. It was really hot. He was gassed. I mean,
yeah. Couldn't stick it out one more play.
Thank God for Aaron Rodgers. And thank God for Jalen Ramsey, who at least he showed up. He made the great play at the end. He was actually good all game, and we know this because they weren't throwing at him all game. But they've got some real issues to figure out defensively. But I don't know. I don't know. You could look at this so many different ways. You can say same old defense, same coaching staff. It's not going to matter, and that might be true. They can figure some things out. I mean, listen, they haven't had quarterback play like this for the better part of a decade. I know it's only one game, but that guy was awesome. That was an unbelievable performance from Rodgers in so many different ways. And I have to assume that was his first game action since January 5th or whatever. He's probably going to get better. He'll probably get more comfortable, get into a rhythm. I just hope Roger Jones doesn't get him killed because he certainly took some shots yesterday. 41 years old, you don't need him taking a beating. That could only lead to bad things.
Broderick Jones looks like he's on roller skates sometimes. He's just and Trey Essex is on Twitter, and he's a great follow, by the way, former Steelers lineman. Great follow. And he constantly is like, this guy's technique is awful. And I don't know offensive lineman technique, so it's like I listen to that and I'm like, oh God, like our number one pick, like he is trending towards bust territory big time.
Yeah, no, there's no question about that. But the season might depend on him playing better. And they didn't run the ball at all, Joe. They need to run the ball better.
Caleb.
And they almost got, the worst play of the game was they must have put a gun to Rodgers' head. He threw like 10 screen passes. That one screen pass, I'm like, I can see my dad just freaking out where he's up in heaven. But I went, just that was terrible. I did say that I was happy that the guy that made the big hit at the end of the game. We finally got a guy that's a Steeler.
Right.
That's like Harrison, because I don't care how many pull-ups, TJ Watt can do. And he's a great football player, but he's not an asshole. And we finally got a guy that's a real Steeler. He knocked that kid's head off when it mattered. God bless him. And the other thing I want to say, because I was screaming, I was screaming on the punt, right? The defense finally held him. And I'm like, we can get the ball back. I'm like, don't do anything stupid. Don't do anything stupid. Don't do anything stupid. What happens? Cam Hayward's caddy takes a personal foul. You know what they should have done? They should have cut his stupid freaking brother after he signed his contract. He said, you know what? You got your extra money. You can pay for him to cut your grass. Get that son of a bitch off the Steelers. How do you take I love Tomlin. I've been on record years. But that's a thing where Jimmy Johnson or somebody else goes, you're done. Don't take the flight home. You don't get a personal foul on special teams.
Well, it's the only
punt that's not being returned.
Right, and it's your only contribution to the game. No, they've got some issues. Let's be honest here. We all know that they do. But before we wrap up, I should say this is how great Chris Boswell is. He kicked a 60-yard field goal to win the game. I think we all expected him to make it because he's just that guy.
Yep.
He's just that good. I've never seen anyone like him.
Yep. No, and Paul Zeiss had a great tweet yesterday. He said, if it weren't for Chris Boswell, the Steelers would probably be way under 500 for the last, 7-8 years.
You might be right. I mean,
other than 2017, 2018, ever since then, if it wasn't for Boswell, I bet you were under 500 every year.
He's won them many games. He is one of the great kickers of all time. Have you ever seen a guy from between 50 and 60 yards who's pretty much automatic? I mean, it's what he
insane.
is.
I'm not writing down names. I'm not saying I told you this, I told you that, and who knows? He could get hurt next week. Knock on wood. I hope he doesn't, or he could throw 10 picks. But I don't care what your politics were. I don't care. Oh, he goes in a cave. Oh, he does something you don't like. Who gives an F? We got a freaking quarterback.
That's right. And by the way, Joe, he's handled himself great since he's been a Pitt. Every word he says is I kind of like this guy. He's saying all the right things. His teammates seem to love him. Kabali tells me these guys play hard for him. They like him. They do.
There was a guy next to me at the bar who was begrudging. You can tell he's begrudging. Hey, we all love Mason Rudolph. He can play all he wants. I don't care. But let's run this guy till he gets hurt.
That's right.
I go, dude, we finally got a quarterback, and he kind of gave the like what your mom does. It was one of those.
He really. I'm not going. Can you see now though where I was like, I just was like, if this defense is good, it's not a hard story to write that they could make a run and go to the AFC Championship game, and then who knows what. You know what I mean? It's not out of the realm of possibility, and that's the first time, honestly, since because even we should all admit, in 2020 when they were 13-0 or whatever, 11-0, I was like.
Are they really that good?
Yeah, this team is not a Super Bowl contender. I didn't see us going to the AFC Championship game that year. So, for the first time you're looking, but the defense, man, what a letdown. If the defense just did not great and gave up 21 points, and I'd still be concerned about them, but 32 points to Justin Fields is a lot. And it both sides of the line of scrimmage. Both my football teams this weekend. Michigan, don't even get me started on that. But the Steelers did the same thing. The line of scrimmage was dominated by the Jets for the majority of the game, and that's the tail of the tape.
2 points. I almost lost my train of thought again. Son of a gun. Maybe need to do this at 4 a.m. A bit better than 2 p.m. Oh, okay. One is off of Josh's great point. Aaron Rodgers hasn't faced live bullets since January.
And he goes out and does that. I know.
And that was his first game. I mean, are you kidding me?
He's looking good, and he
was just so in control of that offense. It was he knew where the ball was going before the ball was snapped 90% of the time. That was just an impressive display of professional quarterback.
Okay, man. My second point here, and this will be my end of my other points. We can all have a nice afternoon. Is Mr. Rogers gave you 32 points. You should win those games.
Yeah. You should win every game that happens.
That's Tomlin and your cronies defense, and and TJ Smith and TJ Watt and Cam Hayward and your money, you fat SOB. You can hold them to under 30 freaking points. Oh yeah, if you even want to, you shouldn't even wear a Steeler jersey if you lit up the run like that.
Yeah,
I'd rather have LaVon Kirkland come out in a walker. At least have some balls and clog the middle.
Hey, Levon could cover down the middle too.
He can do everything.
He was unbelievable. He was so fast.
I'm just saying, right now you could probably clog the middle better than those guys.
Well, I think we'll learn a lot about this defense next week. Let's see if they. I mean, listen, it's week 1. I'm not going to be too harsh, even though it was a lot of what we saw last season. But the Seattle team is a decent team, but it's a team, frankly, they should beat at home. Let's see if the defense shows up. I would hope they would.
And also, the offense. I'm not saying the Jets are going to be great, but the Jets defense isn't horrible.
Pretty good.
They're a pretty decent team. They're not, they're not the steel curtain. They're not the most feared defense in the league, but DK
you could argue they have an above average defense. That's sure.
Yeah. So they, Sauce Gardner is the real deal. And, there was questions whether or not you'd hear from DK Metcalf, and he did pretty well. Didn't hit on my parlay, that's for sure. Needed that anytime touchdown score, but such is life. If you would have just had the Ben Skoranek touchdown anytime score, you would have been fine yesterday.
Well, those people have all retired.
Yes, they are. But all right, well, that'll do it for us, everybody. We appreciate you listening as always. Follow us on all the podcast areas. Follow us on YouTube, because we also, subscribe to it, because we're putting out all the shorts, little clips, all that kind of stuff that you guys enjoy. And we'll talk to you next week.